All right, guys, this is Ashley Williams with Legacy Farms Coffee. I had to change a few things around tonight, so it will be going out live on YouTube, and I will try to put it on a few of the other things later. I reached my limit, I guess, on how many I could record. Anyway, you can find us on Legacy Farms Coffee 2010 on Instagram, Legacy Farms Coffee at Facebook, and Legacy Farms Coffee 200 on YouTube. We were going to do a quick show tonight, just going to be a few minutes, but we're going to talk about the coffees. A lot of people didn't understand what some of the names meant, so we were going to go over the standard coffees that are going to be coming in. The container should leave here in about 2 weeks, so which means it'll be in the States in about 4 weeks. At that point, we'll start roasting some coffees we've never had available before. This year, the standard coffees we have every year are a canal washed, a red honey, and a full natural in the Lempira variety. There will be a washed honey and full natural in the Ica 2. The Perinema will only be available in washed and red honey. The Marciesa will be red honey, washed, and the full natural. And so it's going to be, that'll be as same as it was last year. I think Bill is just logged on. Trying to get Bill to come on as a regular, not really a guest, but just two of us doing the show at least once a month. But those are the regular coffees that we have every year. The new coffee this year is going to be it's called Ana Cafe 14, which means Ana Coffee 14. So it's just a variety that somebody somewhere came up with. It's going to be a very limited coffee. We won't have much of it. Eli just popped into the room. We're going to have, we had enough of a crop to do a test on a geisha. I actually roasted it the other day. It's still resting. It'll be up tomorrow for me to try out. We're doing some trading for a Robusto. So we're going to have this year we're going to have a decaf. So there'll be a half calf is what it's going to be called. So we'll blend it and figure out exactly what the coffee will be. But it'll be half decaffeinated and half regular coffee. So we're going to call it a half calf. Then we're going to have one that's calf and a half. So it's going to be a full, it's going to be a Robusta and one of our Arabica coffees that we grow. Again, we haven't blended that one yet, so we don't know. So this year in the roasted side, there's going to be a half calf and then calf and a half. So those will be the two new blends that are coming up this year. The Ana Cafe, I haven't tried it yet. Well, I did. I roasted it one time. I took it too dark and poured it out. But it's got a lot of promise. We didn't get it cupped because there was so little of it. But again, a coffee plant, from the time we plant it, it's going to take 4 years before it's in full production. And so we're going to get it cupped here within the next couple of weeks. So I'll know a little bit more about what I can expect. But I generally like to roast and cup a coffee before I send it off and have it professionally cupped. And that it helps me from cheating. I sort of know, if I get the analysis in front of me, then I can put my finger on a certain flavor or something like that. I like to try to guess at it, do the best I can first, and then I'll come back and compare that against the regular stuff. Did he call you? Okay. Okay. Eli's reading the screen for me. It says, Bill says, I'm watching, but I can't speak. Use your words, man. It says, can't unmute your guests because they chose mute themselves. Let me click it on here and see if I can do anything here. But we'll keep playing with it and see if we can't. No, not figuring that out, I don't guess. It says ban them from the studio. That's one option. Don't want to do that. Oh, he left. He'll be back. Okay, maybe he's not in a good spot or something like that. But no, we just sent Bill out an order of a green coffee. I was going to try to send him some roasted coffee, but it threw me over the weight, and we were about to do it FedEx, and that means we have to drive to Heston or to the dollar store and send the FedEx. So we didn't do it. It was just pure laziness. And we're going to pretend this is full of coffee, and not that I only got 5 hours sleep last night. Did you write something else? Oh, that's up to you, man. All right. Eli came in, and I've got it blocked off. He couldn't get behind the table. Not intentionally, but it's just blocked off. But I have I'm showing a lot of promise on the Anna Cafe, and that will be something we don't sell green. We'll only sell that roasted. So you guys that are watching roasted or buying the roasted side, that'll be something that you guys will be able to get. There's also going to be a Sarchimor. I think it's Sarchimor. It might have an E on the end of it. You can look up those varieties. And that's not my farm. It's from, I can't remember his name. It's a neighboring farm, and we bought some of his crop just to try it out. And hopefully we can pair him up with some, either a roaster that'll buy his crop, or we'll sell about 10 pounds of each of everything I bought and see if we can't get up roasted customers for it. But I split that lot into 3 parts. So I'm going to have that in a washed, a honey, and the full natural. And the full natural cup, like 87 something. So I'm really looking forward to trying the full natural. The other coffee we're going to have will be limited. We're going to have 30 or 40 pounds that we will only sell roasted. It's called a Mario Hipe, and it's a really nice crop. If we can figure out Bill here, I think I sent Bill some of it. Nope, I'm just not having good luck. It says unmute Bill. So I did, but then it popped right back on again. Uh-oh, I think we might have us some Bill. Oh, crap.
A baby crying in the background. So that's the reason why I'm saying I can't have it on, because you'll hear that.
Oh, okay. Well, I think most of our customers have babies and understand that. You should try the Honduran method. In Honduras, they give the kids coffee all during the day. So the women will mix a little bit of coffee in with the breast milk or whatever the milk they're feeding them, and it keeps them wired up during the day. And then when they pull it in the afternoon or night, they crash. And so,
well, I'll make sure to tell Emily that. He's got a Honduran way for taking care of Brielle on there. Is give her coffee all through the day. That's what they do in Honduras. And then when they take it off halfway through the day, they just crash at night. So she said heck no, in case you didn't hear.
No, so. What's your wife's name? I was thinking Emily.
It is. It's Emily. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, we sent off y'all's package today, and it's got plenty of tea in it.
I sent her that the screenshot of your message of saying that is enough to OD on, and she goes, "Oh my goodness, I don't need enough to OD." But and it looks like my
I put it in a pound bag, so it probably doesn't weigh a pound because it's so light. But I got all of it I could get in there. So,
I'll let her know.
I've got some from my Mario Hipe that I won I didn't win. I got 4th place in. So I've actually got the tea that came with that coffee. So that'll be here hopefully in about a month. They say we should sell in about 10 to 14 days. So then that crop will be on its way. Okay, cool. But we were talking about some coffees. I had a lot of people asking what was going to be up this year. And so we were talking about L'Imperial will be in all three processes. Washed honey natural. Ica 2 will be washed honey natural. Marciesa will just be a wash. It's washed natural and dairy, red honey. And then the Mario Hipe will only be in a washed, and it's only going to be sold roasted. And so will the Sarchimor. We're only selling it roasted. No, we're splitting that lot. We're going to sell half of it roasted. And we're going to split it up and sell it out as samples. So hopefully next year we'll have quite a bit more, more of that coffee. And again, the Sargi Moore is not my coffee; it's somebody else's. And next year, we're building a tank where we're going to do more of the anaerobic fermenting, so the green coffee buyers will know more about what that means.
So you
And
figured it out. I know you were just testing it last time I talked to you about it.
we did test it, but we didn't get better scores, which everybody we talk to says, oh, you're going to get these great scores. Every time we do a test, we try to keep everything as even as possible. So what I did was I took the first year we did it in 5-gallon buckets with gamma lids on them. And you can get those gamma lids at Lowe's or $10 and Home Depot probably. And then we put a valve in there, and it's this little valve like they use to make wine with. And so you fill that valve full of water, lets the oxygen out, but won't let air in. And so we packed those full, and then we did it in 5-gallon samples 2 years ago. Then last year we did 55-gallon drums, and we outfitted them the same way. We sort of figured out what we want to do this year. So I'm building a big lid that'll go in a 1,500-gallon tank. And then that lid will press down and squeeze the coffee, and that'll force the majority of the air out.
Okay.
Coffee degasses, no matter what stage it's in, there's something coming off of it. And so we're going to try to do a big lot of that. But last year, what we did was we did a 55-gallon. We'd put a big lot out, and we'd fill a 55-gallon drum. They were the exact same coffee, processed the same way, except for the 55 gallons was the anaerobic. We didn't get any better scores. The scores of the 3 lots that we tested were exactly the same score, but it was night and day flavor profile difference. So with the anaerobic fermentation, we got different flavor profiles. We just didn't get a different score. So for me, it's still worth doing because we're getting flavor profiles that we didn't have before. So with a big 1,500-gallon tank suited up to do that, we could take some of our bigger lots that are always basically chocolate with caramel notes and a nutty finish. We could take that one and do it anaerobic and get some kind of wild flavors out of it. So that'd be fun to try. And we'll do it with probably the red honey processed coffee. It's got more juices and tends to stay a little fruitier. So we'll try it doing with that. But next year, I've got about 100 plants of geisha, and there's seeds that came from like 3 years ago. 3 or 4 years ago, there was a real high cupping geisha, or it won number 1 in Honduras. And a friend of mine got some of those seeds, and he gave them to us as plants. And so we planted those. Planted 120 of them, 100 of them made the cut. And so I think right now in production, we have about 80 of them. So I don't know what the exact numbers are, how much we'll have green, but we'll have some next year. And then we'll keep, if it's really good cupping scores, then the first year, your cupping scores seem to be lower. So this year it was only like an 85. So we'll see what the cupping scores are next year. And then we'll make the decision whether to, plant like 2,000 or 3,000 of those plants, or if nobody likes it, we'll just cut them down. But it's I did it as the guy did me a favor by giving me some of those plants, so I felt obligated to plant them. I never had any intention of planting geisha. It's one of the least coffee-like coffees I've ever tasted, and so I am pretty old school and basic. I want my coffee to taste great if possible, but I definitely want it to taste like coffee. And the geisha was very light, flowery, fruity, hints of citrus, and it was more of a tea-like coffee than coffee. And I definitely like most chocolate, and most coffees have some chocolate in it and things like that. I like the dark, robuster, not a dark coffee, but like stronger flavors. And I want pronounced flavors. And I like having dominant flavors like the fruit or the caramel and things like that. So I just sort of wanted to taste like coffee, smell like coffee. The geisha didn't have a really strong smell, but these plants came from a 94-point geisha, which is an amazing coffee. So I was tickled to get them. And even though I didn't want to plant them, I did it as a friendship thing because he was nice enough because he grew the things up. And I don't think we grew the seeds. I think he brought them to us as plants, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to check. But the new crops next year will be a little bit of Sargi Moore this year, but a bunch next year, and then a little bit of geisha this year, and a little bit of Anna Cafe this year, and hopefully a whole lot more. and then a lot more of the anaerobic fermented coffees. So I'm hoping to have like 15 to 20 bags, like 150-pound bags. That's my goal for next year of the anaerobic stuff. And then another big change in the farm this year, we built a new mill. Some of the equipment's the same, but it's a lot faster and it's doing a lot better job of doing the coffee. So it was a lot quicker to clean the coffee this year. But one problem on the farm that we had was every time we take these ladies, I wish I had a picture of it. Next week I'll have a picture of the selecting room. But there's 10 experienced women on the table, and then there's 4 little mini tables. And what we'll do is we'll put an experienced lady with a brand new one and an experienced with a brand new, and that's our training table. So this year, it takes a long time to get somebody trained to where they're doing 70 to 100 pounds of coffee a day. This year, 2 different times, we lost from 4 to 6 ladies. And it was because another mill closer to them, as soon as they got trained, they stole them. And so we had a lot of trouble finishing the year out. We ended up finishing the year with 6 ladies, where normally there's 16, selecting. And so it was a big pain in the butt for us to go through all that work. And it drives our selecting costs through the roof, because these ladies are selecting like 10 or 15 pounds the first couple of days, and then they move up to 30 or 40 and 50 or 60 to finally get wound up, running between 60 and 80 is where we like to have everybody. There's a couple of ladies that can go over 100. But and so then they steal them, and then we go backwards and sit still for a while. So it's something that I've thought about for a while. The whole farm idea, the concept of the farm was to provide more jobs. So instead of buying an $800 sewing machine that we stitch the bags up with, we let the ladies do it by hand. Last year, some of our bigger customers complained because it took so much time to cut all of that giant thread out of there, put it up. And so we went with the machine on the majority of the coffee. This year, there's a few bags that are going to be hand stitched, but we had somebody come in and sew them up. But we're going to buy the hand stitcher this year so that we can do a nicer job. And then each one's going to have a little diagram that shows you how to unhook and undo that string, just pull it out, because it's an art form. And we're looking at getting a laser selector. And I hate to do it, but I've got, out of those 16 women, 5 to 7 of those women have been with us for 6-7 years. And so if we got the laser selector, then we would have to hire 2 more men to handle the coffee. But then we could keep those 6 or 7 original women, and all they would be doing was selecting the coffee that came through the machine. So then they would be selecting 200 or 300 pounds a day. But in order to provide them with that 2 to 2.5 months of work, then we're going to take in some other farms. And so we'll start selecting coffee for other farmers, and just enough to keep our girls just completely busy for, the next couple of weeks. And that's the goal.
So I got a question for you. It might be a hard one, but I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
At what point does your quantity overshadow your quality? Because I know that's a big selling point for you. So.
You mean like where we would get so much coffee couldn't process it well? Or couldn't?
Yeah, your volume went way down all of a sudden. I don't know if it's me or you, but.
All right, try me now. Can you hear me any better?
A little bit. Let's get a little bit louder.
Okay.
There we go. Now you're back.
Okay. I didn't have my keyboard plugged in because your voice was coming over the computer and not my headsets. Because I had that thing turned on and I'm plugged into the box, so I could hear myself through the box, but it wasn't plugged into the computer. And I'm still trying to figure this thing out. I like buying stuff that makes me feel stupid. So
I've been seeing, ever since I've met you, I've seemed to have bought a lot of that, just for the record.
Well, one of the things we have, when I say patio, that's where we dry the coffee. And so it's just this, I think it's like 80 by 120 feet of concrete. And so it's perfectly, each section is perfectly flat. but they're all pitched in different angles so that when it rains, there are certain high points that we can put the coffee in the center of the patio and then cover it with plastic. And as it rains, it will drain off both sides. Or
Okay.
I built a high spot in the center, and so I put the two out of concrete blocks, and then I put the two coffees up next to those blocks, and then I cover that with plastic, and so when it rains, it drains off that way. That way, we don't have to bag the coffee every single night and take it back into the shed or into the bodega. So, but we can only put about 12,000 pounds of coffee in one day on that patio. And the coffee takes anywhere from 5 on a great day. A washed coffee would dry, or a great week, washed coffee would dry in 5 or 6 days. But when you start doing honey process, then you're talking, anywhere from 8 to 14 days. And a full natural will take anywhere from 21 to 30 days. And so what we did is this 2 years ago, we contracted with a place. Then it worked out for 1 year. And then now we contracted with a lady for 5 years. And she's gave us her one section of her farm. We went in there and cleaned it up. And it's about 8 miles from her house, but it's a very unique microclimate. So when I leave my farm, I'll have anywhere from 5 to 15,000 pounds in the back of my truck. I drive out to her farm, and my guys have gone out with machetes and hoes and smoothed off places on her farm. And then we have these rolls of nylon that are 100 yards long, and I think it's 6 or 7 yards wide. So we roll that plastic out, and then we start dumping those bags on it. And my guy Pedro, whose coffee is coming in this year, he lives out there for 2 months. So there's a little house on the place that we've got rented, adobe stove. So every time I come out, I'll bring him supplies and a cold Pepsi, stuff like that. But he'll live out there, and he'll work that coffee, and he'll go around to the neighbors and find 1 or 2 or 3 people that'll help him every afternoon. So that big sheet of plastic will be, let's say, 21 feet wide and 100 feet long. At the end of the night, he rakes all the coffee into the very center of it, and then he just makes a tortilla out of it. Well, that flew like an airplane. So then he's basically just going to fold this third over and this third over, and then he'll cover it with rocks and makes just a taco or a tortilla out of it. Burrito. And then he'll put rocks on it so the wind won't blow it off. And then so it'll sit for the night. It's humid at night. We rehydrate the coffee. And then that next morning when the sun breaks and that dew burns off, then those 2 or 3 or 4 people, the neighbors, will run over there. We'll open it up, get it spread out. Because as soon as that sunlight gets hot, he'll start drying it. And so that gives unlimited capability to dry, hundreds of thousands of coffee. We don't even have the potential to grow to do. And so that'll keep our quality up. And what we had to do when we did that, and one of the things we're doing for quality, is if you see in the background, there's a little black tester laying on its side, just right off of this shoulder here. That's called an Agtronics makes it. It's a Grain Pro coffee tester. So a lot of the farmers that grow wheat and corn will have something similar, but this one's specific for coffee. And so that's how we check the moisture of the coffee. So you'll put your coffee in there and compress it and run a test on what the humidity is, because we want to make sure that it never gets below 12%. And so it's we generally try to stop it at 13.1%. So now I've had to get one of those for Pedro. But the big light colored box you see, I can't figure that out, like right there, that big thing, that's a laboratory tester, and it will recalibrate itself. And I think it's like a little over $2,000. So we just had to bite the bullet and get one of those this year. This next season, we're going to have 2. So we'll have to have one, because what I'm doing right now is, you see the coffee by my leg. So as soon as that coffee, the temperature gets down to about 75 degrees, 80 degrees, then I can put it in there and test it. And then I'm testing the moisture, and we've got a big diagram of where all the coffees are, what they are, and what the humidity of them is. And so when that coffee gets to about 14, 15%,
you have to start checking it every hour. And when it hits in the 13s, you start checking it every 10 minutes. And then you start getting the people rounded up, because the second it hits about 13.3, we start breaking it up.
And I died.
By the time we get it done, it could be at 12.5, just according to what part of the day it is and how hot it is. But on that black plastic, it'll get up to 120 degrees. And that's sort of the max temperature that you want. We have drying houses on the farm. They'll get 160, 170 degrees if you don't have the fans on. And the two walls that are facing the valley where the wind comes from, those walls are a nylon, ultraviolet resistant nylon, and they roll up. And so you'll roll up both of those walls, and that way we'll let that fresh air start coming in. And each one of those drying houses has about 6 fans in it. And we'll control the heat inside, because people can't stand to work in there when it's that hot. So we try to keep them about 90 to 100 degrees. And then, of course, there's, everybody has plenty of water and stuff like that. So we can keep the quality where we want it, but it's been, it's a huge investment doing that, because we've had to buy 2 of these $2,000 moisture testers. They're so much better than the handheld units, which are like $250 each, because I keep, one in my truck. So wherever I go, I've got a mobile one. And then the 2 guys that are working the patio both have one. And so we have to have a little bit more expensive equipment if you're going to have, the ultimate quality or the best quality possible. So that's what we try to do. So this year we'll buy another one of the exact same moisture testers, and then Pedro will have it in that drying field. And normally that drying field, it'll be 30 degrees hotter than our farm, and we're only 8 miles away. It takes me 45 minutes to drive that 8 miles. So there's a lot of bad roads, and I drop about 2,000 feet while I'm driving it. So it's lower. It's a little more mountainous. And so we're just sort of dropping into a hole. So it gets the good sunshine. And when there's fog, it blows up the top of that mountain and blows completely over it, and it's gone. It doesn't really fall down in there as bad. So it's an amazing option for us as far as being able to dry our coffee. And it doesn't cost us that much. It's a few $100s a year. And they don't want money because it's so hard to get to. They want us to bring out supplies and things like that. So this next year, we're building them a shower and a toilet, all out of concrete blocks with a metal roof on it. And then, it's whatever we could sort of think of. But one of the things we're going to get for them this year is a small solar panel where they can recharge cell phones and have some basic, just a basic little tiny light. The beauty of it is it's a 12-volt battery. And so there's so many, you can put an LED strip of lights in the bathroom and light it up. And you could have the same thing in the house and light it up and use very little, energy, and it's renewable. So it's a great option for them. And I would imagine the whole setup is about $200 and something with the deep cell battery or whatever they're called. So that's something we enjoy helping them with. And it's a blessing for us to have a place, out there. And Pedro, he likes staying out there. It's basically like camping out. And his brother will come out and relieve him sometimes, give him a couple days break. He says, I want to go see my woman. So he'll go home, and he's got both the brothers have 5 kids each. So Pedro only has boys. Santiago has 3 boys and 2 girls. And so they'll swap up every once in a while, and Santiago will come out and stay the weekend. And it's really good pay for them. They'll get paid the same just for staying out there as they would being in the field, working and picking and hauling big bags of coffee. So he enjoys doing that. And then he's our guard also. So he makes a salary that he's happy with, and we're all happy with the work he does. So that works out great for everybody. But every year we're trying to do something a little different to help our quality, to give more options, different types of fermenting and things like that. So I hope you guys find this a little bit interesting. And we're going to have on the website currently, we have sample packs. So most of the coffees that we grow, we currently have in stock. Some of the newer ones, of course, aren't here yet. But you guys can go online, and I think it's $16. You can pick 4 different coffees, and we'll give you samples of the 4 different coffees, and you can sort of try what you like. Or anytime you put in a regular order, you can say, can you give me some samples? And we'll throw in, an ounce or 2 of a couple different coffees. And I usually base that on what you ordered. So put in the notes if you're wanting something specific. But like today, somebody ordered decaf and dark roast. That's all they ordered. So I gave them a sample of a darker roast Perinema and an espresso blend. And so those are really strong, bold flavors. So I'll try to match it, or just say, pick me something to put in there. So we'll pick for you and start you out with our most popular sellers. And at this point, we've been selling our coffee for almost 4 years, well over 3 years. So we know what consistently are the most popular coffees. So it's not too hard for us to send you what everybody else likes, but we try to tailor it and give you, let you pick out eventually what you do like. And you don't hurt my feelings when you say, oh, I hated the espresso blend. Oh, that's fine. The majority of people like one thing, and the majority, and so it's not saying that everybody's going to like it. But, don't just stop ordering. Say, I really didn't like this, or this was so bad, I think something's wrong with it. We'll make it right with you, and we'll keep trying different samples until we get you what you like. Definitely want to make everybody as happy as possible. So if there's ever any questions, it's legacyfarmscoffee@hotmail.com. Can always get that. If you're watching me on social media, you sort of know when I'm in Honduras, when I'm in the States. But my cell phone number is 620-386-4833. Feel free to call me anytime. If I don't answer, I'll see you called, and I'll call you back just as quick as I can. You can leave a message or not, but I'll see that number, and I'll do my very best to call it back as quick as possible. Or you can contact us on any of the social media things. On Instagram, it's Legacy Farms Coffee 2010. On Facebook, it is Legacy Farms Coffee. On YouTube, it's Legacy Farms Coffee 200. We don't TikTok or any of that stuff yet. We are on Twitter, but I can't think what our call thing is right now on Twitter. I forgot. But there's, we're easy enough to find. You Google us, Legacy Farm Coffee comes up pretty much, pretty high up. There's no stupid questions. It's coffee, and nobody knows the answers to everything. So if you've got a brew method that you're trying to figure out, I've usually got a couple recipes. If I don't, Bill does, or Patrick does, or one of the guys that's on here fairly often will have something. Or look on Facebook. There's a Chemex site. There's an AeroPress site. There's a lot of different ones. And over the next few weeks, we're going to try to do a full podcast that just has guys with Chemex or French press. So if you've got a topic you want us to talk about on there, just let me know, and we'll do the best we can. Until then, thanks, guys, for joining in. Please like, share, subscribe. We're trying to grow, and the only way we can do that is if you help us. So send it to your friends, and we are going to start a refer a friend discount. We're going to start giving you, if you share our post, or if you tag us and things like that, helping us grow, then we're going to throw some extra coffee in every time you order something. We'll do the best we can to take good care of you. But we'll talk to you guys next Wednesday night. We'll have another one at 9:00, and we'll hope to see you guys soon. Thanks for joining us.